Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Alicia. Welcome if you're new and welcome back if you're a returning subscriber. So today's video is going to be a story time about how I almost did not get married. Like, if you're new here, I got married back in December 2021 and we're gonna talk about how that almost did not happen. So a little backstory, my husband proposed in March of 2021 and we were planning on having a summer wedding, so a wedding in June or July of 2022. That did not happen and we're gonna get into all of it. But first we gotta backtrack. So in May of 2021 I went to a Caribbean country, and if you've been watching my vlogs you know which country I went to. And my mom, my stepdad, all of my cousins, my aunts, and all of that, we all went to this particular Caribbean country and we were there to have a good time. So basically, there's this pastor from this country and my mom knows about him. She's familiar with him. She wanted to go to his church to share her testimony. She follows him because of his testimony and how powerful that was. Now we landed and everything, and the pastor came to the house to visit my mom, me, my stepdad, and all of my cousins, and just to get to meet us, to pray with us and all of that, which I have no problem with that. So the next day he was having a Bible study at his church, so he invited us to the Bible study and we went. My stepdad and we went to the Bible study. My mom stayed home. After the Bible study, I was waiting in the church because he's supposed to drop us back home. So I was waiting. I was sitting in the back. So he's like, oh, I want to talk to you. I'm like, okay, cool. So we went to the back of the church and he started talking to me. And he started asking me a couple questions. I answered the questions. Questions like, oh, are you engaged? I said yes. And then he's like, oh, you should tell this person you're not interested in being married right now. You're interested in focusing on your education. And then he goes into saying he's just using you to get opportunity. He just went into a whole lot of blah. And he's like, it's not gonna work, blah blah blah. Just a lot of negative things about my relationship, which he knew nothing about my relationship anyway. Before he started telling me all of these things, he didn't ask a question about my relationship. The only thing he asked was I engaged? And I said yes. And then he started talking about all of those things. So anyways, as he's speaking, nothing is like registering in my head at that point. I felt so low. I was sitting in the church and I took the ring off and I put the ring in my purse and I'm like, I'm not gonna wear this ring again. And he was like, when you go home you should tell him it's over between you and him and there's no future and he's using you, and just a whole lot of stuff, you know, a whole lot of gaslighting is what I'm gonna call it. So he's like, you plan to travel, which my husband at the time, he was in Barbados, so I was gonna travel from this country to Barbados to visit my husband and also to enjoy Barbados a little bit. So he was like, do you plan to travel? I said yeah. He's like, don't travel, blah blah blah. If you know me, you know I'm stubborn. I'm not just gonna take something that someone says to me just because they said it to me and not think about it or all of that. Like, I'm stubborn. I did not ask you for your advice, so if you're giving me your advice, it does not mean I'm gonna take it. I will think about it. I will meditate upon it. It depends sometimes. Anyways, off story. After the Bible study, he brought us home. I went home. I started bawling. I started bawling my eyes out. I actually did text my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time, so I'm just gonna say boyfriend. I texted him. I was like, it's over between us. You're using me, blah blah blah. This poor guy, he was like, what? So I did text him and cuss him out. Like, I did text him and cuss him out, honestly. And my mom came into the room and she saw me crying and she was like, what's wrong? And I told her what the man said to me, what the pastor said to me. And she was like, that doesn't mean you should just go ahead and break up with him or go ahead and hurt him or go ahead and break his heart just because of what someone said to you. it doesn't mean they're hearing from God just because they said something to you. So I was like, yeah, you're right. But still, I was crying. Like, I was bawling my eyes out because I'm like, how does this man know all of these things? And at that point, I did not know that certain pastors, certain people, they will literally use the spirit wrong. Like, they will use the spirit to tell you lies. They will use the spirit to manipulate you and all of that. So personally, I did not know that at that time. Now I am aware of that, and I'm gonna get into why in a minute. So anyways, she was talking to me. She was trying to console me and all of that. I've never prayed like how I prayed during those times in my relationship. Like, honestly, over the years, that was like the rockiest time in my relationship, because I felt so low. I was like, what? And then that night, I cried the whole night. I did not eat. I cried. He was going through it. Like, he was not eating either. Like, my aunts kept calling me. They were like, what did you say to him? He's not talking. He's not eating. I'm just airing his business out. He's not talking. He's not eating. He's not coming out of the room. Like, what did you say to him? I'm like, I broke up with him. And I feel bad saying it now. I honestly feel bad. So I was like, I broke up with him. And they were like, why? And I told them why, and they're like, what? So yeah, and they were just being reassuring. They're like, he loves you, like, he loves you, like, he clearly loves you. Anyways, that night, I was praying, and I was like, God, talk to me. Like, that night I prayed, I was like, God, talk to me. And while I was crying, like, I heard a voice said to me, like, God is not a God of sadness. So why are you sad? Why are you crying over stupid things? Like, why are you sad? Why are you crying? I'm gonna cry. And I was like, if I get 3 confirmations from 3 people that I trust and 3 people that I know have a true connection with God, then I know that this man is for me and this man was sent by God. And then I started thinking about, like, he said he's an opportunist, but he doesn't even want to go overseas. He doesn't even want to live in foreign. Like, if I didn't tell this man, get your passport, he wouldn't get his passport. Like, he doesn't have the foreign mind to live. Like, if I tell him I'm moving back home to Jamaica tomorrow, he'll be happy. Like, it doesn't matter where we go, as long as we're together, he'll be happy. And I was like, how is he using me to come here when he doesn't even want to live in foreign? And that's what I started thinking about. I'm like, this man said he's using me. The pastor said that my boyfriend was using me to basically come to America to get citizenship, to get stay. And it's like, but he doesn't want to come here though. Like, obviously he wants to visit, but like, if I say to him, like, I'm moving back, he'll be 100% on board. If I say we're never coming to America, he'll be 100% on board. Like, so I started thinking about that. I'm like, well, he's definitely not using me for that. And then I started thinking about the things that he does, like the things that he says, the way he treats me, the way he talks to me, the way, you know, he goes out for me. Like, no one has ever done that. The way he shows me love, the way he helps me, and all of that. I started thinking about it. Anyways, fast forward to the next day. So the next day, the pastor came by the house again. He came at the house again because him and my stepdad had a altercation about some disagreement about the Bible. Not my problem. So he came at the house again, and they were trying to hash out what they had going on. Anyways, I woke up, eyes all puffy. He saw me. He's like, how are you? I'm like, I'm doing good. And then he was like, he's gonna take us out for some tour and all of that. Him and his wife was gonna take me out for a tour. So they asked my mom, he asked my mom, and all of that, trying to say it's respectful for a man to ask the parents. He's just trying to basically teach me something, like, which, okay, yeah, it's respectful. He's trying to say that my boyfriend did not ask my mom to date me, so the relationship is not valid, which, I don't know. Anyways, he took me to drive around a town to see the town, him and his wife. So we were stopped somewhere, and he started showing me pictures of his son. What? Why are you showing me pictures of your son after you told me to break up with my boyfriend yesterday? You're showing me pictures of your son today? And mind you, my boyfriend, like, while we were like going through, he was like, "Does the pastor have a son?" I'm like, I'm not gonna talk about that, because I feel like he knew that's why the pastor was trying to break us up, because he has a son and he wants me to date his son. That was his whole motive. Like, he wants me to date his son. So he started showing me pictures of his son. I'm like, okay. I'm not saying he's ugly, but he's not my type. He's not my type. He was not my type. He messaged me. He's like, my dad is trying to set us up. I have a girlfriend. I'm not interested. I'm like, that's good, because I'm not interested either. I'm actually engaged. He's like, oh, really? You are? I'm like, yeah. It's like, congratulations. And that was the end of that. But his son was not my type. So, anyways, back to the story. I was thinking about it, like, why are you saying all these things about my man, but then showing me your son? Like, clearly you're up to something. And then he would say some slick stuff to his wife, like, oh, maybe one day she'll be my daughter-in-law. Who to tell? Only God knows. Maybe she'll be my daughter-in-law, my future daughter-in-law. I'm like, sir, what? Not interested. Not interested at all to be your daughter-in-law. Nada. So that's that. I left the country. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, stuff like that. I did go visit my husband in Barbados. Actually, I went, even though the pastor was like, don't travel, blah, blah, blah. I still went to Barbados to visit my man, and we talked about stuff, and we got along perfectly fine. I still wasn't wearing my engagement ring. It did take me a couple of weeks to put my engagement ring back on. I'm not gonna lie. I had a lot of doubt and second thoughts, and I had a lot of just negativity running through my mind. So it took a while, a lot of prayers and a lot of confirmation from God for me to start wearing my engagement ring again. I did a video about how I feel about being engaged, and I did not post that video until 5-6 months later, because I was going through that and I wanted to see if I was going to pull through that before I post the video and started talking about how I felt at the start of the engagement versus the middle of the engagement. Now into when I came back to the US, I started talking to 3 different pastors. I asked 3 different pastors to pray with me about getting married. I asked the first one, and he's someone whom I trust. He's someone whom my mom knows, and they have a very close friendship relationship, and this is the church that I attend online. So there's 2 pastors in the church, so I asked one of the pastors to pray with me, and he was praying with me, and he was like, your wedding is going to happen sooner than you know, or sooner than you think. And that was one confirmation. And then I asked the bishop of the church as well to pray with me, and he was praying. And with him, he's very truthful. Like, if he sees anything negative, he's going to say it. If he sees that this man is not good for me, he's going to say it. And he did warn me before he started praying. He's like, I'm going to pray with you, but if I see that this person is not for you, I'm going to tell you. I'm like, yep, that's what I need to hear. He started praying with me, and he's like, he's a genuine person. He really loves you. And then he mentioned something about my wedding being in December. He wasn't talking to me. He was like praying and talking to God, but he mentioned December in his prayer. And then I also asked the pastor of my husband's church to pray with me, and he prayed with me as well. And he talked about the arguments. Like, he was like, I'm asking God for more confirmation because there's some arguments. I'm like, yep. 99% of those arguments I start because honestly we were going through a rough patch, a negative patch in a relationship. I'm like, 99% of those arguments I start, and that's something that I need to work on for myself, and that's something that I need to change within myself. So yeah, I did get my 3 confirmations, and I got my own confirmation in my heart from God, because during those times I was praying. I was like, God, I'm young. I don't want to make the wrong decision. I don't want to make the wrong choice. This is someone whom I love. This is someone who I know loves me. And this is someone who I want to have a family with one day. I want to experience things with. I want to travel with. I want to, see the world with. I want to have kids with. All of that. So I don't want to marry someone who is just using me. That's just plain blank. So yeah, I didn't really tell all of my family what was going on because honestly, most of my family members are very negative, and not most of them, but yeah, most of them are very negative. I didn't want to hear what people had to say. I didn't want to hear no more. For me personally, I don't invite people in my relationship. That's me personally. I don't invite people in my relationship. I don't talk about my relationship with people. If I tell you a simple thing, then a simple thing it is. I used to say stuff about my relationship, and I just don't like the way people answer or the way people give certain advice. So I stopped completely. Like a couple years ago, I stopped completely. I don't take advice from people about my relationship because you're not in my relationship. So yeah. Anywho, so after all of that, after praying, as I said, it wasn't short of prayer. We prayed. We went to premarital counseling. We definitely did that for a couple weeks, and we talked to pastors. We prayed with them. They prayed with us. We prayed together, and we definitely need to go into deeper prayer because we're getting a fight. But yeah, we just have to keep praying. I guess we just have to keep praying. Anyways, so after all of that, we did ended up getting married in December 26th, 2021. And then after we got married, so the pastor who told me all of the negative things, right, he had my number on WhatsApp. So after we got married, I had put up a picture of me and my husband on my DP, and he saw it, and he was calling down my phone. I was not answering this man. I was like, not today. I deleted his number. I was like, not today. I purposely left the number so he could see that I got married. And then after he seen it and was calling my phone, I deleted the number. I actually changed my phone number as well. And then he called my mom and he's like, oh, I just want to tell her congratulations. No, you don't, sir. No, you don't. You want to stress me out. And that's what you're not going to do. Also, when I was in Barbados and I was with my husband, at one point he did call my phone. Like after me and my husband have been talking about stuff and all of that, and we're trying to get over stuff, he did call my phone and he stirred up a lot of negative energy. Each time I seen his phone number calling me, I just my tone changed. Like everything about me changed because I feel like he's just gonna come with some negative energy. And you're probably like, you should have deleted his number a long time ago. You should have blocked him, blah blah blah. I should have, but I didn't. So he called while I was in Barbados, and he just had a lot of negative stuff to say. And I feel like after that call, that's when I was like, I don't want to hear anything else from him. So if I see him calling or texting my phone, I ignore it because I don't want to hear anything else. I don't want to hear no negativity. I don't want to hear no stress. I don't want to hear why I shouldn't marry this man. Let me make my own choice. And one thing that he was saying to me was like, oh, I give people advice, and then when they don't take my advice and they make their own choice and something goes wrong and they come to me, I don't pay them any attention. Well, for me, sir, I'm not going to come to you. If whatever goes wrong in my life, I'm not going to come to you. Like, personally, I don't go to people when things go wrong in my life. I go to God. Or I go to my mother. I'm not going to come to you. But that's something like he was saying to me and trying to hold over my life or hold over my mind. And he was trying to like ask me questions about my relationship, and when I wouldn't answer him, he would be like, oh, you don't have to answer it because I'll ask God. I'm like, okay, ask God. Like, why are you asking me? If you can ask God about my relationship, why are you asking me? Like, this man dead ass said, like, if you don't have to answer it because I'll ask God. Okay. Anyways, I don't want this video to be too long, but some key points that I want to give you guys from this video is be careful. Be careful of people out here. Like, be careful of pastors, be careful of family members, be careful of friends, be careful of negative people who don't want to see good for you, or people who don't want to see you happy, period. Like, there's a lot of people out here who don't want to see you happy. They could be family, friends, they could be strangers. Like, a lot of people don't want to see you happy. So be careful of people. Don't listen to people. Don't listen to everything that people say. Go to God for yourself. Like, if I did not choose to pray and go to God and tell God I need 3 confirmations, and I got my 3 confirmations plus an extra one, plus I got my own confirmation from God. Like, if I wasn't praying and if I wasn't having people that I trust pray with me, I would not be married to this man. And when I think about it, I'm like, I could have lost someone who was genuine for someone who wouldn't give a shit about me, someone who wouldn't care about me, someone who would only be the opportunist. Honestly, I'm gonna end this video right here. I don't want this video to be super long. I don't want this video to be all over the place, because I feel like it's a hard story to follow already, so I don't want it to be extra over the place. So I'm gonna end it right here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.